Hello and welcome into the 247 Sports YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Ivins, Director of Scouting here for 247 Sports, and it's Commit HQ. We got another big name literally coming off the board this afternoon. JacQawn McRoy, a top 247 offensive tackle out of the state of Alabama. He's going to join us shortly, and he's going to tell us where he plans to sign, where he plans to play football for the next few years. JacQawn McRoy, over 6'6", north of 350 pounds. He's our number 3 ranked offensive tackle. And I'm just getting word now from our studio in Nashville that we've lost our feed with JacQawn McRoy, but don't worry, we're going to get him back. So I'm going to welcome in my friend now. Actually, I got buzzed again. JacQuan is now with us. JacQawn McRoy. JacQuan, buddy, it's been a recruiting process for you. Take us through the month of June. You went on a few different official visits. You're going to have a few different hats in front of you. What has this recruiting process been like, and why did you visit these schools?
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Good moments for my family. Just real excited. Get a chance to show my family stuff they ain't never seen before, so that's pretty good.
Well, you got the 4 finalists in front of you on the screen: Arkansas, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Oregon. A very unique and broad group of schools. Why these 4? Why are these the final 4 for you?
I just really felt like I can fit all of their programs, like come in and start day one. So that's really the reason why.
Okay. Well, we're gonna tell us about where you are. Where are you announcing? Who is all joining you and sharing this moment with you?
I'm at the Centerpoint Recreation Center, and I'm with family and friends.
Okay. Hey, I want to give you the floor. This is your opportunity. Take the time you need. Tell us where you're headed. So we're going to turn it over to you, and you can go ahead and announce that commitment.
It's been a good process, and it's a very important decision. But I will be taking my academic and athletic career to the University of Oregon. Oh, shit. My fault. I ain't adjust the hat. My fault. I did not adjust the hat. But y'all see it.
Well, why Oregon? Obviously a big win for Dan Lanning. Again, you were there in Eugene. Congratulations again. But why Oregon? What stood out about them?
Amazing facility and weather. I love the cold. And just a good young coaching staff. You know.
You mentioned it's a young coaching staff. Tell me about that O-line coach, Alik Terry, young guy. I'm familiar with him. I remember when he was a recruit. Now he's recruiting. How big of a role did he play in this recruiting process?
He played a big role. He's 27 years old, so it's basically like getting coached.
Yeah. Okay. And then finally, JacQuan, man, I'm familiar with your game. We saw you at the Under Armour camp in Atlanta back in February. I call you a corner protector, a guy that can extend the arc for pass rushers. So what is Oregon? What are Oregon fans? What can they expect from you there in Eugene?
A young star. Like I expect to start day one, and I'm early goalie, so I will show the coaches that when I get there.
Okay. Well, hey, JacQuan, I know you got a big party planned, a ton of different Oregon decorations. We appreciate you joining us, sharing the moment with us. Congratulations again. Number 3 offensive tackle in the class of 2024, JacQuan McRoy, headed to Oregon. I'm going to welcome in my good friend, co-host of the 247 Sports College Football Recruiting Podcast, Cooper Patagna. Cooper, you heard it. We talked about it on the pod. We thought JacQuan McRoy was going to head to the University of Oregon. Initial reaction.
Well, man, a few words there, but I like it. You know, they're getting a big dude, 6'8", 365 pounds. You know, this is a guy, he plays on the right side of the line of scrimmage. I think he can play tackle or guard, but listen, I think his home at the next level is tackle. We talked about some of the comparisons for him. DeJuan Jones was a guy out of Ohio State, got drafted this past year. Orlando Brown, right? Those are 2 bigger bodies that had to melt down not only on Saturdays, but Sunday as well. And Drew, you and I have talked about this. What makes McRoy, I guess, such a difficult guy to go up against is that he has a 7-foot plus wingspan. He's got 36.5-inch arms, and he's an above average athlete. Right now, he's probably hovering around 365 pounds. I'm sure Oregon probably wants to get him around 340 pounds, but you heard him in his expectations. He wants to play day one, plug and play. And I would say, hey, listen, kind of cool your jets a little bit, except for the fact that he's got the frame, the size, and the athleticism to do it.
You brought up DeJuan Jones, who had a basketball background. JacQuan's played a little bit of basketball. Orlando Brown. I think the body kind of reminds me, and they're, he's a little bit longer, but Evan Neal, remember him coming out of IMG Academy, goes to Alabama, plays early on. I think if JacQuan McRoy is going to follow a similar path, it would have to be maybe something like that. Maybe you start him on the inside. But for Oregon, we keep talking about it, right? Oregon, they're in the Pac-12. You have USC, UCLA are leaving. All right, they could become the kings of the conference, and they got to improve at the point of attack. And we saw what they did on the defensive line last year. I think JacQuan McRoy addresses a massive need because they didn't really get that premier offensive tackle in the 2023 cycle. Now you get it in the 2024 cycle. And you, having been on the other side, right, ran recruiting departments. You ran the recruiting department at Oregon at one point. How important is it to get a guy you can pencil in as like, hey, this is our franchise guy maybe for 2 or 3 years?
Well, there's not a lot of guys walking around JacQuan McRoy's size at 6'8", 365 pounds. We'd say that, hey, this is a premium position on the West Coast. But to be able to go into SEC country in the state of Alabama and get a guy like JacQuan McRoy when you're going up against Ole Miss, Arkansas, so on and so forth, I mean, that's a huge deal, right? You talk about the plug and play type of ability there. I still think he's going to need a year to get his body right. I think he needs to develop physically as well. But this is a huge statement by Dan Lanning. And listen, if you can continue to build your roster with this type of continuity and relentlessness when it comes to the height, weight, speed philosophy, especially in the Pac-12, you got USC, UCLA vacating for the Big Ten. This can create a big advantage. So I really like what Dan Lanning, the rest of his staff, what they're doing. I mean, it sounds so simple, right? But they're really taking that formula of what Dan Lanning got to experience under Kirby Smart, and he's just implementing out west.
Trying to play around with the class calculator right now, but there's been so many commitments. It's not easy to do. Oregon had the number 9 class prior to a few minutes ago when JacQuan announced. I'm assuming they might move up a few spots. Regardless, this is a top 10 group. Coop, I'm not sure, if you want to highlight maybe some other people you like that Oregon has committed thus far. I mean, for me, they got Michael Van Buren, the quarterback out of the DMV at St. Francis Academy. And then they got Luke Moga, another guy down there in Arizona who they kind of got in on before a bunch of others. But when I look at this group, I mean, it's from all different corners of the country. And it sounds so simple to do, but I think for Dan Lanning, it's hard to kind of execute. And you mentioned, what he learned about Kirby Smart. They had their own kind of Find Dan Lanning Day at the last month in May. So it's just interesting to see how this has all come together. And there's a runway for them to add a bunch more guys in the boat. They're going to get an official visit from Williams Nawarni in September. Aiden Breland was a guy that visited 2 weeks ago when JacQuan McRoy was on campus. You got Kamar Mathudi, Braden Platt. I mean, there is a ton of guys out here that could be true difference makers on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, 9 different states. That's the representation that they have in this class now with 17 players committed. I think Zadavian Sims, that's probably a guy that kind of pops for me. They go to Oklahoma. They beat a couple of big teams there for him. You talk about Obadegwu, the corner from St. Francis in Maryland. That just kind of goes to show. I mean, they have a different skill set than I think any other team in the Pac-12 outside of USC to be able to go national and find guys at different positions when they need to. We see it with McRoy. We've seen it with Obadegwu. I think that's what's going to make Dan Lanning dangerous. But they have also done a really good job in a small sample size within his first 2 years. They make the West Coast a priority. We saw him do that last year with a handful of prospects, including Mateo Uiagalelei. So I expect them to just keep things rolling, man. There's a couple other guys waiting to announce. It looks like Oregon's in good position. I think the fun's just starting for Dan Lanning.
Yeah, 4-star safety Aaron Flowers apparently in the YouTube chat right now chiming in. So you love to see it. And speaking of the 247 Sports YouTube channel, guys, if you like these commitments, please make sure to subscribe. We are 1,000 last I heard, 1,000 subscribers away from 100K. I remember when we were just at 10,000, how far this has come along. But JacQuan McRoy to Oregon, that's the story of the day. There's going to be tons more commitments here. It's been a wild week. It's going to be another wild week on the trail for JacQuan McRoy, for Cooper Patagna, my guy, for everyone back in the studio in Nashville. We appreciate you guys joining us here on the 247 Sports YouTube channel. I'm Andrew Ivins. We'll see you guys next time.